Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boomer Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today, doing a recap of our loss to the Dallas Cowboys, 49-29, still covered for your boy. But a lot in this game, but I think overall this was, like I said, going to be one of our real first tests. Not first, but one of our real tests. I think, again, like I said last week, because of certain things with the Patriots game, they made it a little easier than it probably would have been. And then, of course, like the rain and all that stuff. But this was going to be one of those games where we really were going to see something. And for the Dallas Cowboys, I don't think they're like the top team in the NFC, even though that's not saying a lot. But I still think they're of pretty good caliber compared to what we've been facing lately. So this is where you're going to actually find out a lot about the Bears. Now, I was thinking about this with these teams. I was actually thinking about the Giants, but these teams that are kind of play defense, run first and all that, and how sustainable it is. Well, when you haven't played competition, because especially like week 8, like I said, people overreact. So when you haven't played competition, people go crazy. I actually think about this with Dallas. Like they were like, the defense is so elite, the defense is so elite. And at this point, I think they're good, but we saw what happened when they went up against the Eagles. Because at that point, I said, let them play a real O-line first. They haven't played a solid O-line yet. And when they played the Eagles, we saw what happened. That defense didn't do what it was been doing all year. And so when you have teams like this, like we are, with that philosophy, you go up against competition and you're going to come up against 2 tests. If you pass the first one, then you go, or if you fail the first one, then you got to go to the second test. The first test is, can your defense still be as good against a quality offense? So when you're going up against a quality offense, are you still getting 3 and outs? Are you still getting turnovers and all that stuff? Typically, what happens is you don't. I mean, especially when you're talking about a team that hasn't really played a good offense. And so, anyway, that's the first test. So we going up against Dallas. We know they have ran well. We know that Dak in the past has put up numbers throwing. We know CD can be pretty good. So it was like, okay, well, can our defense still, and not to say that our defense has been great this year, but can our defense do what it's been doing to keep us in the game? And we failed that test. So now the second test becomes, can your offense, mostly your quarterback, be consistent throughout the game? Not just holding the ball, not just, doing big plays off of play action or misdirection and all that, but can you actually play offense, get first downs, put up points to keep pace with the other team? And typically teams like that fail both those tests. Not always. I think of the Bengals last year where they got towards the playoffs and into the playoffs. Their defense showed that they could, do something against these offenses, but they weren't going to shut them down. And so the question became, can Burrow and the rest of that unit keep pace with the other team's offense? And they were, and they went to the Super Bowl that way. So it can be there, but I wouldn't say we have Burrow and what the Bengals got. So today we faced both those tests. And obviously, I mean, you can't say we did a great job. We almost gave up 50 points. So, but we fought. I mean, it's what I said from week 1. Some of those things you can tell about a team, especially when you have very crazy adverse circumstances. So I thought we would be fighters. I don't know a lot about Eberflus and what he's doing in the I don't know why I want to say behind the walls, but I guess. But with the team, I don't really know what he's doing and what he's preaching and how they're doing it. But I know from the product on the field that the team is fighting. And it might not even be Eberflus. It might just be we were so heavily like downplayed in the offseason that maybe they got tired of that and they want to prove something. But either way, team's a fighter. And I figured that and I saw that. And we saw it again today. I mean, 28 points. that was bad, but we started to fight and scratch and claw back. But the thing about it, again, is you can't, like I said last week, you can't win that way. You can't win that way against good teams because the good teams are not going to do what the Patriots did. They're not going to go 3 and out or, turn the ball over all the time. You got a pick off Dak Prescott, which was a much needed play. But other than that, the offense had to keep pace and we weren't able to because we're running the ball. Now, the same, all this is pretty much, I will say I didn't learn much new this week as I continue to say that. Because I said this already, Getsy is creative. That's what I do like. Now, again, when you talk about like high school level, especially if you're not like at some powerhouse school, these students, they change over and over. And unlike college, most places don't get to recruit the best of the best. So you have to adapt and learn and change things up. And that's what I'm seeing with Getsy. He doesn't have great pieces, and he's really been creative with how he switched stuff up, how he's using the threat of Justin Fields and countering that with stuff like the jet sweeps. We love our jet sweeps with this offense. He's countering that with some of the misdirection, some of the offensive line moving like a toss play or some type of outside zone and then doing something backside. So he's been real creative with some of the subtle things that he's done to get production out of the team, to keep us like confident. But and I would love to see what that looks like with some like legitimate weapons. And shout out to, Pettis and EQ, of course, Mooney, not just, what they've done trying to, get the pass game going, but also what they've done in the blocking game and being, especially EQ and Pettis, they really been down there doing some dirty work that you don't usually see receivers do. And so they're doing their part. But again, you got a lot to build on with the O-line. You got a lot to build on with the receiving core. And I would love to see what Getsy can do. But I've seen so far that he has been able to adapt not only to what the defense is doing, but what his offense is able to do. And so that's a real good sign. And I'm really looking forward to hopefully us getting a better roster and what he can do with that. Defensively, now I'm very interested in going to the film. The last few weeks, it hasn't been much that I thought really needed to look at. It was pretty cut and dry. But this week I'm curious because I knew we were ranked low against the run. And also another thing that annoys me. Just because the rankings don't always tell the story. Numbers don't always tell the story. So, like, we're third against the pass, and they came in like, oh, the Bears really good against the pass. No, we're not. Not really. I mean, you saw today, Dak could have easily continued to carve us up if he wanted to. And Jalen Johnson's back. So, there's no excuse there. I don't care that Kyler Gordon got an interception last week. He's been getting torched all year. And so sometimes you are, especially when you see the huge disparity, sometimes you're highly ranked against something because you're so bad in something else. And so us being third against the pass is a direct result of us being 27 against the run. We're not third against the pass because, oh my God, we've been so good against the pass. We're third against the pass because everybody's busy running on us. That's why. And so that there. So we came in knowing we were not a highly ranked run defense. Now, after last week, I told you, the Patriots shot themselves in the foot. But I still felt, maybe with some confidence, maybe, with scheming it up so that we are stacking the box, we could stop the run. And boy, was I wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. Pollard had that last run that made it way worse numbers-wise than it probably was. But still, they were effective against us pretty easily. Now, the first drive, we did a lot of stunts and run blitzes. And we had one play where it was pretty well called, and we went stunted right into the run, and we were able to come clean and get a loss. But the rest of that drive, if you watch, we were stunting, I wouldn't say the wrong way, but we were stunting ourselves out of the play. And so one play was a cutback, or two of them was a cutback. So we were stunting towards the zone, which is fine, but you know that as a zone run, the cutback is the second option. And so nobody was playing the cutback. Like, if you're going to stunt or blitz to the left, then you need to have the linebacker scraping to the right. You can't have everybody flying downhill the same way. Nobody's back. And so they just did a simple cutback, and you're like, why is it so wide open? That's why. We were stunting right out of it. And so I would like to see, like, if we continue to do that, or just kind of how we looked against the run on film. I mean, I know how we look, but I want to see on film, like, what is it? What's happening against the run? I said before, our defensive line, we got some guys, especially without Robert Quinn, we got some guys that could hold a gap, but not necessarily guys that can get off of a block and make a play. And I keep bringing up Madden because I think it plays well this year. You see that in Madden 2, sometimes a little unrealistic, but you see that in Madden 2, to be honest. Like, the difference between a guy that won't get moved off the ball and a guy that will get off a block is huge. It's two different things, especially when you got linebackers that are not good at getting off blocks. And so I'm interested to go to the film and kind of see what we're looking like and kind of where the issues are. But they were running down our throats, and that's kind of been the story of this year. So there's that. And then I don't know if there's much more to say offensively. Again, I like Getsy's creativity, but man, we got to be able to throw the ball. And Justin Fields, I mean, there's production there. There's some things. I think Fields definitely has lost confidence in terms of the passing game. And I mean, it's the same stuff I've been saying. The offensive line, there's times where they don't really give him a choice. There's times where he puts the offensive line in a bad position. There's times where he holds on to the ball. And there's times where our receivers aren't getting open. It's a group effort thing. But I will say the threat of him running has really changed a lot of the dynamic against these defenses. And I guess he's just been doing a good job of taking advantage of that, in my opinion. So, yeah, I mean, this is what you get. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, I think the Vikings will end up winning the division, but it doesn't matter if the Packers fall off and we, whatever, if we somehow back into a playoffs. When you play a quality team like this, unless we get early turnovers or whatever, this is how it's going to go. I mean, this is who the Bears are. So that's it for me. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.